Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking the daily flood of tech news and turning it into a cohesive look at the rapid, honestly kind of chaotic maturation of the AI industry. We're talking massive shifts happening right now that are fundamentally rewriting the rules of technology, law, and economics. And it's a story of immense friction. We've got a torn painting in a high-stakes courtroom, a secret government checkpoint quietly being set up for tech giants, and 700 human jobs just replaced entirely by code at a major crypto exchange. Let's dive right into exactly what went down today, and more importantly, why it matters to your wallet, your job, and really our collective future. Part 1. The Fight for Control. Inside the Musk versus OpenAI trial. Okay, so we start off at the micro level, right inside an Oakland courtroom. OpenAI President Greg Brockman just took the stand to describe this highly pivotal meeting from way back in August 2017. And it actually started out super warm. Elon Musk had recently gifted Teslas to OpenAI employees. In return, former chief scientist Ilya Sutskever actually painted a portrait of a Tesla as this really wholesome token of thanks. But man, things escalated so fast. The conversation shifted over to corporate structure, and it completely derailed when Musk allegedly demanded total control over OpenAI's equity. Brockman testified that Musk grew incredibly angry, just flat out said, "I decline," and stood up. He apparently walked toward Brockman so fast that Brockman literally thought he was going to be hit. But instead, Musk angrily grabbed Sutskever's painting of the Tesla, stormed right out of the room, and threatened to cut off all future funding until the whole thing was sorted out. And this whole dramatic moment brilliantly illustrates what legal analysts are calling the Mars motivator. On one side, the OpenAI Foundation argues they were bound by a strict nonprofit mission to benefit humanity. But on the flip side, Brockman testified that Musk's aggressive push for control was really about funding a city on Mars. This interplanetary ambition that Musk allegedly claimed would cost $80 billion. He needed full control to direct those massive funds. It completely reframes this trial, right? It's no longer just a simple nonprofit debate, it's a clash of absolute world-altering ambitions. So now, the jury is sitting there facing two incredibly compelling but totally competing breach of duty arguments. Musk's core claim is straightforward. OpenAI abandoned that foundational nonprofit mission. But then Brockman goes on the offensive. He counter-accuses Musk of using OpenAI talent to do secret work on Tesla's self-driving tech, all while Musk was still sitting on the OpenAI board. Legally speaking, taking a nonprofit's resources for your own commercial gain, that is the textbook definition of a fiduciary breach. And beyond all the intense interpersonal drama, the trial gave us a peek under the hood with some staggering details. Brockman noted that leadership was genuinely concerned about Musk's lack of actual AI knowledge, and that he was such a polarizing figure he actively turned off top-tier engineering recruits. But the financials? The financial stakes here are what truly blow your mind. It came out that OpenAI is preparing to drop $50 billion on computing resources this year alone. $50 billion. Meanwhile, Musk just updated his damage claim to an eye-watering $150 billion. The numbers we are talking about here are just completely astronomical. Moving on to Part 2, the de facto regulatory checkpoint, CISI's growing grip on frontier AI. So while the founders are busy fighting it out in court, the government is quietly building a massive fence around the entire industry. Just yesterday, the U.S. Commerce Department's Center for AI Standards and Innovation, or CASI, announced a huge expansion. They started out by evaluating OpenAI and Anthropic back in 2024. Now, in 2026, Google DeepMind, Microsoft, and yes, even Elon Musk's xAI have all signed agreements allowing the government to evaluate their models before they are released to the public. They have essentially wrangled every single major AI lab. What's absolutely fascinating here is this idea of a de facto regulatory gate. The government has successfully built this massive oversight apparatus, complete with all the necessary institutional plumbing, without a single formal law being passed by Congress. It isn't just advisory anymore. The practical reality of the situation dictates that frontier AI gets government eyes on it before it ever gets public access. Now, you might be wondering, why is this accelerating so fast right now? Well, the main catalyst is Anthropic's new model, Mythos. Mythos recently proved that frontier AI can autonomously find decades-old zero-day vulnerabilities buried in critical infrastructure. That single demonstration sent absolute shockwaves through Washington. It proved beyond a doubt that independent, rigorous measurement of these models isn't just a good idea anymore, it is an urgent national security necessity. But setting up a framework like this is never without hurdles. Top government officials, including the White House Chief of Staff and the National Cyber Director, are heavily involved and are potentially drafting an executive order to formalize the whole process. There's a pretty massive complication, though. Anthropic is currently tangled up in two simultaneous lawsuits with the Pentagon. The debate is over whether the Defense Department can legally declare the AI company a supply chain risk. So the big question is, will Anthropic's ongoing legal war with the military derail the very regulatory framework they helped create? Finally, let's look at part 3, the AI economic reality, the CapEx-human swap. Let's zoom out to the macro level, because the exact same technology they're fighting over in court is fundamentally rewiring corporate America. Palantir just reported their Q1 2026 results, and they completely blew past every single estimate. Net income jumped from $214 million a year ago to a staggering $870.5 million. That is a straight-up quadrupling of net income year over year. It's a flawless visualization of the incredible operating leverage you get from agentic AI software. We are no longer talking about normal software-as-a-service economics. This is what happens when AI actually starts doing the heavy lifting. And the underlying numbers are just as crazy. Palantir hit $1.63 billion in revenue. That's an 85% year-over-year growth rate. Their U.S. commercial revenue skyrocketed by 133%. They closed 206 deals worth at least $1 million each, and they even raised their full-year guidance to $7.65 billion. CEO Alex Karp pointed out that these results show a level of strength that dwarfs basically every software company in history at this kind of scale. It proves their forward-deployed engineering model is undeniably working. But the absolutely crucial metric you need to understand is $1.5 million. That is Palantir's annual revenue per employee. It's just a jaw-dropping metric of sheer efficiency, and it has instantly become the new gold standard that every other AI lab, OpenAI and Anthropic included, is now desperately chasing. To really grasp what this means for the broader economy, we have to deliberately contrast Palantir's massive success directly with what just went down at Coinbase. While Palantir quadrupled its net income by using agentic AI to do human work, Coinbase's CEO Brian Armstrong just announced they're firing 700 workers. That's a 14% reduction in headcount. And Armstrong explicitly cited AI acceleration, openly admitting what their engineers can now do in a single day what previously took them weeks. This stark back-to-back contrast perfectly illustrates what we call the CapEx-human swap. It's this massive macroeconomic trend where companies intentionally replace human headcount with capital expenditure on AI. Instead of paying salaries, they just buy more compute and deploy more AI agents. The software completely takes over the human workflows, efficiency goes way up, profits absolutely soar, and the human jobs, they disappear. And across the rest of the industry, we're seeing this exact same push for automation accelerating everywhere. Just today, Anthropic released 10 pre-configured AI agents specifically for the financial sector. They're designed to completely automate typical investment banking workflows, things like KYC checks and pitch book generation. In other quick news, OpenAI's head of sales, James Duet, quietly left for Thrive Capital during this busy trial week. Plus, Llama 0.23 just launched with Claude desktop integration, meaning local models are being brought right into the enterprise workflow. Make no mistake, the tools designed to replace human workflows are shipping every single day. So I want to leave you with this final thought to consider. The Palantir model of extreme AI-driven operating leverage isn't just some blueprint for the distant future anymore. It's today's scorecard. As we watch these raw power struggles play out in the courtroom, as strict policy gates form in Washington, and as massive profits fundamentally shape our economy, ask yourself, in the era of the CapEx human swap, are you the one directing the AI and deploying the capital, or are you the human being swapped out? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, stay focused, and we'll see you next time.